CBS Mornings on the go. Ahead on this Tuesday, May 28th, we've got new reporting on the Americans accused of illegally carrying ammunition in their luggage to the Turks and Caicos. One of them now back in these United States. What does it mean for the others who are still stuck in what would have been paradise? Plus, school districts all across the country are struggling to find enough drivers for those buses that bring our kids to school. We need them. Well, we're going to tell you about how one district is solving the problem to a certain extent by turning to artificial intelligence. And we'll be joined by one of our favorite authors, John Grisham, who has reached a major milestone this week. He's out with a book. It's book number 50. It's called Camino Ghosts. Now, those first 49 books, they were New York Times bestsellers, so we shall see. Will the streak continue to the big 5-0? He's off to a good start, that's for sure. All that after these messages.
Get ready to skidoo into stories, because there's a new season of Storytime with Josh and Blue.
Skidoo, we can too inside our storybook with you.
Your preschooler can wind down wherever you choose. Blue's always ready for a snuggly snooze.
I think I'm almost ready for a nap now, too.
When it's time to settle down, Blue and all her friends are here for your preschooler. Listen to Storytime with Josh and Blue wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to CBS Mornings. One of the American tourists who was recently jailed in Turks and Caicos after ammunition was found in his luggage is due to be sentenced this morning. Tyler Wenrick, a Virginia father and EMT, faces a potential 12-year prison sentence in the Caribbean territory. Another man facing the same charges, Brian Hegrich, returns to the U.S. on Friday, as Chris Van Cleve shows us.
A homecoming the Hegrich family waited 101 days for. Brian Hegrich back in Pennsylvania after facing the potential of a 12-year prison sentence in Turks and Caicos over ammo found in his luggage.
It's the hardest time of my life. Just being separated from your family as a father, as a provider, and to not be that figure in your family's life. It's a very tough pill to swallow. But have these guys here right now, this is everything.
Hegrich is one of 5 Americans arrested since December on charges of possessing ammo. All insist they did not realize the bullets were in their luggage. 3 remain on the islands in legal limbo. But Brian's case may have just set a precedent when he and his wife walked out of court Friday after receiving a 1-year suspended sentence and a $6,700 fine. They promptly boarded a flight home.
Just absolutely overwhelmed. There's just so much joy. It's just amazing how just in a matter of 12 hours, my life it's been a complete 180. Looking at 12 years to now, my biggest concern is coaching my kids' baseball games tomorrow, and that is such a relief.
Senator John Fetterman and Congressman Guy Reschenthaler met the family at the airport. They were part of a delegation of lawmakers that traveled to Turks and Caicos earlier this month, hoping to bring all the Americans home.
I'm ecstatic that Turks and Caicos did the right thing here, but now we've got to remember there's still 3 Americans that are wrongfully detained on that island, and that draconian law is still in place. So we need to warn other Americans about the dangers of going to Turks and Caicos.
Ryan Watson was Brian's roommate since Watson's arrest in April after airport security found 4 rounds of hunting ammo in his carry-on bag as he and his wife were about to board a flight home to Oklahoma. He's expected in court this week. His wife Valerie hopes their nightmare will soon be over as well.
It is really hard with him being there. The kids are doing okay. They really struggle at times. We just keep doing the best that we can in this situation.
Do you feel more optimistic now that Brian is home?
I think I do. And then I'm brought back to reality because I just don't know what they're going to do yet. I don't know what the ruling is going to be for Ryan, but I am very hopeful.
Congressman Reschenthaler is calling on the State Department to issue a do-not-travel order to Turks and Caicos until all 3 Americans are back home and that law is changed. The government in Turks and Caicos insists they're not targeting Americans, and there have been some discussions about changing the statute. But there also appears to be a bit of an anti-American backlash brewing by some on the island who say this is the U.S. trying to dictate to another government how to write its laws. Vlad?
All right, Chris, thank you very much. Yeah, there's something about that, trying to tell a sovereign country what kind of laws they should have on the books. But I do question, how do you get out of a U.S. airport with ammunition in your luggage before you even get to Turkey.
I mean, the TSA misses it. They've talked about that. I'm glad folks are going home. 101 days is a long time. $6,700 is not nothing.
Yep. Yeah.
I think they're definitely paying a price. This will hurt tourism in the Turks and Caicos because people are going to
bad
be worried.
PR, yeah.
It's not good PR. It's not the.
It's not.
Millions of us put our children on those bright yellow school buses every morning. Well, now some of those kids and those buses are getting a big assist from artificial intelligence because the technology is being used to help tackle major bus driver shortages. Meg Oliver visited one district in Colorado that could become a model nationwide. Meg, I've been talking about this story as though there could be an issue with AI in school buses, but you see positive results.
So far, so good. Good morning, Tony. Last year, there were more than 190,000 bus drivers nationwide in K through 12 schools. That's down about 15% since 2019. But this new AI software shows real promise in helping districts solve the crisis. Every morning, single dad Ezekiel Bossert has just enough time to feed his fifth grade son Desmond
Thank you.
and drive him to school before work. But when school's over, there's no aftercare or school bus to pick him up. The nationwide school bus driver shortage has persisted in many areas, including here in Colorado Springs, District 11. How hard is it to find school bus drivers?
It's extremely hard. We offer training, we've offered higher salaries, and yet we just can't find a candidate pool.
At the beginning of the school year, Superintendent Michael Gall had a budget for 110 bus drivers, but only 60 showed up. To find a solution, they shifted gears and partnered with RouteWise Artificial Intelligence.
And they told us that there's at least 10 to 20% of the students that you're transporting that you could optimize the way that you transport them based upon the limitations that you have.
The rideshare company Hop Skip Drive developed the AI technology they're testing here. Joanna McFarland is their CEO.
So how does it work? It looks at every vehicle available. So it's looking at buses, sedans, vans, and looking at each school and determining what are the most effective routes.
How long does it take to analyze a school district's needs?
It can run a first draft in hours and come up with something over the weekend.
Now, District 11 only needs about 55 bus routes and...
Hi, Desmond. Hello.
...supplements with rideshare services, which use specially trained employees. The companies say drivers go through rigorous background checks. They pick up students
Here you go, Zelda.
like Desmond and his carpool buddy Zelda, who live in outlying areas.
I get a text message knowing that he's been picked up, a text message saying that he's been dropped off, and then, I don't have to worry about it.
If we didn't have it, my dad would have to leave work or I'd have to walk home, which wouldn't be fun.
After 8 months of using the AI software, District 11 says it's cut the number of bus routes by nearly half, increased on-time arrivals, and boosted driver pay. If you didn't have this AI software in place, what would happen to those students, especially in outlying areas?
They'd get left behind twice. Once, they get left behind by transportation, and then two, they'd get left behind by the lack of instruction and educational opportunity.
According to Hop Skip Drive, it would cost about $50,000 for a school district the size of D11 to use that AI tool. Just this past year, the software has saved the district more than $500,000.
Wow.
And Superintendent Gall tells us that allowed him to protect positions of at least 10 teachers.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So innovative.
Yeah. So AI has hallucinated. I've done mapping with AI before, and it's made mistakes, but you're not seeing that here.
They did. After a year, this district has bought in 110%. They're doing it next year. They're partnering with about 20 other districts across the country. And so far, they're seeing that, in these outlying areas, if they send these rideshare services in, that seems to be more effective.
Beautiful.
It's really interesting that it gets rid of those inefficiencies that already existed and allows that pay to be something at least worthwhile for the people who are driving our kids.
Yep. Protecting real people.
That's right.
Real people. Thank you, Meg Oliver there.
More from this episode of CBS Mornings after this short break.
It was the biggest scandal in pop music. The stars of Milli Vanilli, the Grammy-winning multi-platinum R&B phenomenon, were exposed as frauds. But none of this was their idea. So whose idea was it? Enter German music producer Frank Farian. He saw the success of acts like Michael Jackson and Prince, and he wanted in, no matter the cost. So he devised the perfect pop heist. Two once-in-a-lifetime talents who were charismatic, full of sex appeal, and phenomenal dancers. The only problem? They couldn't sing. But Frank knew just how to fix that. Wondery's new podcast, Blame It on the Fame, dives into one of pop music's greatest controversies and takes a never-before-heard look at the exploitation of two young Black artists. Milli Vanilli set the world on fire, but when the truth came out, Rob and Fab were the only ones who got burned. Looking back now, it's hard not to wonder, why did everyone blame them and not the man pulling the strings? Follow Blame It on the Fame, Milli Vanilli, on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can binge all episodes of Blame It on the Fame early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus.
Welcome back to CBS Mornings. It is time to bring you some of the stories that are the talk of the table this morning.
Because that's
Michelle,
a table.
You didn't get to go yesterday?
And we be talking.
We be talking?
There it is.
You talking now.
Well, my talk of the table is the so-called seismic shift in car culture. The financial website MarketWatch recently highlighted how Gen Z is not interested in one of life's big milestones, getting a driver's license. The youngest group of drivers, aged 19 and under, make up just 3.6% of licensed drivers in the U.S. When you look at all drivers under 25, it's only 11%. Compare that to drivers aged 30 to 34. They make up 9%. Now, according to federal record keepers, nearly half of 16-year-olds had a license in the 1980s. I was one of them. By 2021, that number was down to 25%. Researchers say one of the big reasons is a reluctance to take on the added expense of owning a car. I bet Uber has a lot to do with it. Look, I wish I'd known all of this before I bought my college grad a car.
Yeah.
Because it was such a deal for me coming. I was from California.
Of course.
You needed
You need
a car.
Yeah.
Don't need it so much these days.
On the East Coast. I don't know. I have a driver's license, but I haven't owned a car since probably the 90s, like actually owned a car. And I've lived all over. I lived in Africa and Europe and here in the United States. And it's always been fairly easy for me to get around.
One of the things we've noticed here at this job, and I think probably at offices around the country, is you'll go on a work trip with a colleague and you'll think they're going to drive or help with the driving, and then they tell you they don't have a license.
Oh, yeah.
What? This used to not be a thing.
That's
Now
right.
it's always a
Now
thing.
it's a thing.
Yeah.
What you got, Tim?
All right, my talk of the table is country music star Jelly Roll saying, quote, marijuana has helped me stay sober. What? Let's unpack that for a second. So according to Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous, that is not sobriety and it is not recovery, at least not really. But Jelly Roll is saying that the marijuana, the cannabis, keeps him off codeine, keeps him off cocaine, things he's had a problem with in the past. And it puts him into this bigger category of trend where a lot of people are being California sober, which means they generally lay off booze and hard drugs, but they include cannabis in their life's journey. So I put the question to you all, would you call that sober?
You know, I'm not a doctor, so I can't say what the clinical definition of it would be, or at least I can't say it with authority, but I would say if it works for him and it keeps him off the substances that he says are detrimental to his life, and this is uplifting his life, I'm for it.
Yeah, I tend to agree. That was a good argument, Vlad. I can't add more to that.
I'm not a doctor, but I play one.
But it's an altered state.
That's right. You can't drive a car.
Yes, exactly.
You can't operate heavy machinery.
Right.
But you can chill. Netflix.
But here's what I'll say about an altered state.
Is it in smoking form or in gummy form?
Well, here's what I'll say about an altered state. There's never been a human civilization that anyone has discovered where sobriety has been the norm. There's something about the human condition that leads humans everywhere for all time to take different substances to feel differently.
But Tony, the anthropologist
the
here,
human condition.
Yes.
That is.
So there's something going on here.
Yeah.
If it works for him and it's a harm reduction for him, I'm all for it. And I think that's how other people feel
Absolutely.
as well.
100%. All right. My talk of the table is a new challenge for the American workforce. Researchers say workers have become more digitally connected, and less personally connected, and that's leading to isolation and loneliness. This goes for both in-person and remote jobs. That's according to the Wall Street Journal. Data shows Americans have tripled the time spent in meetings since 2020, leaving less time for casual interactions. In one survey last year, more than 40% of fully remote workers admitted they go days without leaving the house. 58% of U.S. adults now call themselves lonely, while only 46% did in 2018. The U.S. Surgeon General declared a loneliness health epidemic last year. I want to emphasize that it's also people that are in person that are experiencing this. And our workplace, I wanted to use the example of CBS Mornings. We used to have all kinds of events and activities that we would do before the pandemic. We did Cycle for Survival. Here are a couple of pictures of us. Michelle, remember doing this? Cycle for Survival. That's our whole staff. This is us in Central Park celebrating our friends. And we used to have a CBS Mornings softball team.
Yes, we did.
I was texting with team captain Ben Rosenthal this morning, and I asked him, whatever happened to our softball team that was highly competitive?
Yeah, we would beat them.
We would beat our other competitors in this same time slot. And he said, yes, since the pandemic, people have moved away. People are mostly hybrid, and you don't have the team anymore. So
it really is a shame.
So the solution to loneliness is pick up the phone, make an appointment, meet a friend.
Have lunch, do a walk.
Do a walk.
It's hard when you don't see people, though, Paul.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a pretty place to bring a good book, and just in time for summer, New York Times bestselling author John Grisham is returning to the beach for his milestone 50th book. It's called Camino Ghosts, and it tells the story of the fight over Dark Isle, a fictional island between Georgia and Florida that once served as a refuge for enslaved people who had escaped. It's the third in Grisham's Camino series, and the audiobook is narrated by someone whose voice might be familiar to you. It's Whoopi Goldberg. Take a listen.
It was, after all, a beach wedding, and Mercer Mann, the bride, wanted sand between the toes. The suggested attire was beach chic, which may have had one meaning in Palm Beach and another in Malibu, and probably something else in the Hamptons. But on Camino Island, it meant anything goes.
First on CBS Mornings, John Grisham joins us now. John, anything goes in the sense that it has to be compelling. That's the first paragraph she was reading of the book, and it really had me from the beginning. I felt like I was kicking off my shoes and joining people on Camino Isle. This is inspired by your own vacations, right?
Well, it's loosely based on Amelia Island, Florida, where we hang out and vacation for the past 20 years. That's kind of where we go to hide, but got the idea years ago of setting a novel there, a fun beach read, summer read, fun read, nothing heavy about it. So that's where the inspiration came from.
I want to talk about Lovely, one of your characters. She's a descendant of enslaved people, and she says, we don't know the real history because it has not been taught. And you share some of the horrific details of what enslaved people dealt with at the time, what they experienced. What do you think readers are going to take from this book? You say it's not heavy, but there's some heavy stuff in it.
It's pretty heavy stuff. I hope they get a good dose of history because we don't do a good job of teaching all that. History of enslaved people, the slave trade. We sort of gloss over that. And so you get a pretty good dose of what they went through Lovely's, her ancestors' eyes and experiences. But again, when you're writing popular fiction, you can't get weighed down too heavily in history. And my history is, when you write history, it's kind of terrifying because you have to be accurate. And I'm not known for my accuracy. I just make stuff up because I'm a novelist.
Really?
Yeah, I just make it up. So I don't really worry too much about the history. But the history is so fascinating here that I had to get a pretty good dose of it. And it's historically it's true because this particular area of Florida and Georgia was fought over because Georgia was a slave state, Florida was not until 1845. And the slaves in South Georgia would love to escape. They dreamed of escaping to Florida, not the Underground Railroad coming north, but they would run away to Florida. And the skirmishes were always brutal. They're trying to recapture the slaves and also a lot of really good history. I didn't know that.
I love that artists like yourself are picking up the mantle of trying to, at least in their art, infuse the history that we need to know more about. But one of the characters is someone who's a writer who's afraid of not having the next story. You just told us you make it up. You've been doing it for 50 books. Do you ever worry about not being able to make up a story that you can then put onto the page?
I have not yet in the last 35 or 40 years. When I write about the law primarily. I was a lawyer for 10 years, and I read the law. I don't study, but I pay attention to law, lawyers, law firms, courts, trials, appeals, litigation, stuff like that. That's my interest. And I laugh and tell people when you watch lawyers, the material is endless. So much good stuff.
That good or bad?
Well, look at the headlines today.
I was going to say.
It's all it's every day, every week. There's always a new trial or controversy or something involving the law. The material is there, and you take that and you run it through a pretty hyperactive imagination. And I'm always looking for a good story, and so there are a lot of ideas.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, speaking of material, a lot of your books have been turned into movies. I mean, The Client, The Firm, Time to Kill, and one called Runaway Jury. I wanted to show a little clip there in which a certain someone made their big screen debut.
Oh, really?
Wait. What?
Yeah,
That's Michelle.
That's me. John.
That's you.
I was a principal extra in the film Runaway Jury, and I'm just curious, has Hollywood optioned this novel, Camino Ghost? Could we see it on the big screen?
No, those movies were made back in the 90s, and the business is so different now. It's been 20 years since I've had a feature film, and we keep trying with TV and with film, and we have a bunch of deals, a bunch of balls in the air, but nothing yet.
Well, Michelle's trying to make a career of the acting.
Yes,
so,
I am.
I'm
curious.
You're hired.
I'll stick close.
You're hired. We'll put you on that.
Okay, thank
You'll be
you.
an extra. There you go. Hired. A principal extra.
Principal
Don't leave that out.
Speaking, and I wrote much of my material too.
There you
In fact,
go.
all of it.
John, you say that this is a love letter for independent bookstores. What do they mean to you, independent bookstores?
Well, I love the independent stores because many years ago, when the firm came out in '91, before the internet, back then you had to have the independent bookstores get behind a new writer. Nobody read at Time to Kill, so I was still unknown when the firm came out. And the independent bookstores really got behind the firm. And I toured a lot, and you could always count on the independents to have big signings, get their fans there. The staff knew the books. They would hand sell the books, and different from today with the internet, but they were very important to me and to a bunch of writers over the years. The independents, they're almost all gone now. We're down to about 1,500. Used to have 5,000, so we've lost a lot of stores, but they're still there. They're still thriving, still fighting. It's a tough business.
Yeah. John Grisham, 49 bestsellers. Best of luck with number 50. I hope you get there.
Yes.
Promising career.
Yes, you got a future, kid. Just keep it up.
Camino Ghost. Beautiful cover. It's on sale right now.
Now to a story of healing, compassion, and cows. The Gentle Barn is a rescue facility in California where animal residents received a vast array of treatments and therapies to overcome trauma. Then something amazing happens. They go on to help humans in unexpected ways. There's a new book about the Gentle Barn called Cow Hug Therapy, and it's out now. First on CBS Mornings, CBS News contributor Lisa Ling met the woman behind this extraordinary facility.
Deep in the mountains, about 40 miles north of Los Angeles, is a place of profound healing.
Hi. Where did these guys come from? They were like abandoned in a desert. Can I have a kiss?
Gentle Barn founder Ellie Lack says animals saved her from a dark place of depression.
You're a good mom, you sweetheart.
She's dedicated her life to returning the favor and calls herself an animal communicator.
You got 3 pieces, my baby. I have to share with your family.
Can you describe the state of mind of the animals that end up here at the Gentle Barn?
The majority of the animals that end up at the Gentle Barn are terrified, fearing for their lives, thinking that every day is going to be their last. They've never seen human kindness before.
Music and sound therapists bring a calming, healing energy. Lack says it helps animals learn to relax.
These days, many are getting acupuncture to heal all kinds of pain and trauma, including those you might not expect.
Acupuncture is helping this turkey live better and longer.
We've had animals with torn ACLs, bad hips, severe arthritis, and we give them acupuncture, and every single week they blossom, they heal. We can see it in front of our eyes.
Along with standard veterinary care, the animals also receive holding and massage therapy. Each animal has a story of survival and resilience. These turkeys were supposed to end up on a dinner plate.
And now they're as happy as can be, and they cuddle people, and they're very curious.
I can't say I'd ever heard about turkeys being affectionate animals, but I was wrong.
I have never cuddled a turkey. Look at this turkey, is closing her eyes.
Visitors of all ages are welcome. Some come seeking comfort from the emotional scars of abuse, anxiety, and depression. Learning animals can heal helps inspire people to push on.
You are my sunshine.
Meet John Lewis Thunderbolt, born in a slaughterhouse.
You make me happy every He was very, very sick with pneumonia and a very high fever.
Believing the cow had a better chance of survival inside her home, her family created a comfy space in her living room for both of them.
And I was with him 24/7 for 9 months.
You're sleeping with a cow in your house for 9 months.
Yes, I moved downstairs to the living room.
You like the broccoli?
Ate with him, slept with him. I literally became his mom.
The power we have as humans is boundless too.
I was literally trying to figure out how to retrofit my house to accommodate a cow for his whole life. But he chose to live with the cows.
I imagine you are a bit relieved because John Lewis is a giant cow.
I think my husband and kids were relieved. I was very sad.
Her love and patience know no bounds. Some animals take years to recover.
Wow, Ellie, these cows are enormous. It's like an elephant.
That's genetic engineering right there.
As part of the food chain, Lax explains these gentle giants were genetically modified to grow very big, very fast, and are killed when they're young. But here, after they're rescued and rehabilitated, something extraordinary happens.
You just put your face on him, close your eyes.
The animals help humans struggling with pain and heartache. She calls it cow hug therapy, and in more than 20 years, it's been 100% safe for participants.
And I think that when we put our faces against the cows, it mimics being an infant with a caregiver. We feel vulnerable and small. We feel protected and loved. It's magical. There you go.
Haley Bonus is hoping cow hugs can help her navigate unimaginable grief. Last year, her 4.5-month-old son, Wyatt, went down for a nap and never woke up.
Every parent's worst nightmare happened to us. We got to say goodbye to him and just kiss him, stroke his head, and tell him how much we loved him.
Haley has found some relief in traditional therapy. Now with the baby girl on the way, she's open to feeling the warmth of cow hugs.
Sometimes words don't really cut it, so something like this experience goes a long way. So powerful.
Where would you say you are on your healing journey?
Every day is different. It's been a huge mix of emotions. I love being a parent.
Wyatt was just a baby, but did he have an affinity toward any animals?
We have the cutest picture of my parents holding him in front of the cows, and he looks a little concerned because they're so big and he's so small, but he has the biggest smile on his face.
That was beautiful. I felt like I was being held by my mother.
There's plenty of research indicating hugs lower blood pressure and can soften feelings of anger and loneliness.
I feel lighter. I do think that some healing happened without me even really consciously considering it. Especially animals who have been through such trauma themselves, to then give so much of their soul and their calming energy, it's really beautiful.
These animals are now helping humans to heal. Lax says she's witnessed countless lives changed, but understands some people are still skeptical.
People might say, cow hug therapy, that's ridiculous. Cows are for eating, they're dumb animals. What do you mean hugging them is going to heal you? That's crazy. Come to the Gentle Barn and see for yourself. When you feel that connection, it does something.
For me, the moment was actually hugging the giant GMO turkey and how it just fell asleep in my arms. And I'm so happy to report that Haley just gave birth to a beautiful baby girl last week. And Gentle Barn founder Ellie Lack's new book, Cow Hug Therapy, is available now. Now, you may have read that bird flu has been detected in some dairy farms in 9 states, but it has not been found in California, and the Gentle Barn cows are all healthy. The Department of Agriculture and the FDA are continuing to monitor the situation. And I have to say that when I visited the Gentle Barn, I expected to see tons of kids running around, but in actuality, there were so many more adults who were there seeking healing from these healed animals.
There is something so meditative about being. I've done enough stories around cows and farms, and it really is.
I'm now cow hug therapy curious. I'm going to pick up that book. It sounds very interesting. Lisa, thank you very much. That was a serene and insightful report. Appreciate it.
I love it.
And we do thank you for listening. We'll be back tomorrow in your feed and Monday through Friday on your local CBS stations starting at 7 a.m.